the new year. For some it's still January 1st, for others it's already January 2nd. Today for me was a day where people basically needed support. Some needed support because of the loss of loved ones, which is always, it's so important that people can share their stories, and especially getting the hugs when grief is at the top. Then again, grief doesn't suddenly end, so sometimes they need it a little bit longer. And then, of course, there are those who need support because of circumstances, like a friend of mine who got shut out last night. So I was here on this live with Cinnamon and Terry and Bunny. All of a sudden I got all these messages that she wanted to call me straight away. And apparently she got locked out. Well, good news for her. She was quite nearby. So I drove to pick her up because she didn't have any money. She didn't have any food. She didn't have the keys. She didn't have her car keys. And of course, everything is paid parking over here. And we have a lack of parking. So that's why this place was also close to downtown center, which means that you need to pay as well, even when it's a holiday. And hey, Joe. So I picked her up, and this lady actually also needs some other stuff. So she's disabled, but you can't see it. She's got a colostomy bag. So I was thinking about it. You don't have the stuff. Okay, let's go. We're going to visit a hospital. And, the hospital was nearby. We literally drove past it. And the nurses were kind enough to give her some colostomy bags to go. Then we picked up some energy drink. Apparently people, you only have a few meters left. When it comes to the intestines, it works a little bit differently when it comes to them. So, then she was good to go, and she stayed here overnight, and, we had fun. But at the same time, there's this other friend. She's called Jo. Actually, she's live with me. Well, you can't see her, but she's on here. I know she's here. And, I did this campaign, share some support and love this Christmas. I showed the smiley Christmas angel. Well, Christmas is over, but I guess the smiley angel could still be there. And I'm going to see if I can make a little bit of a different variation. But Joe, I'm looking at you over the lens right now. I guess she had a lot of hard times in the past 2 years. And, just because you can tell, it doesn't mean it isn't there. Just because someone is showing up and posting encouraging quotes, it doesn't mean it's all well. Sometimes we need to look behind the lines of those quotes, of what someone says, to find out what's going on. And here's the thing, when it comes to support and asking for support, not that much people actually ask. I later found out that she did post some things on social media. I didn't know it back then. I didn't check it. But when it comes to asking support, that's quite a challenge. And why is it? Because so many people find it normal. I'll get into that, Joe, in a sec. So many people find it normal to get support without asking for it, and the sad truth is, it isn't. Just like Jo says, it's so true, it's why she does those quotes. People don't always pick up on what's going on behind the text. And I guess the trick is not to ask, how are you doing? Yeah, fine, bye. But to really find out what's going on. And depending on cultures, it might be that people ask it because they're being polite, it's the way it should be done. And quite honestly, I've given up on just saying hi for the sake of saying hi. If I say hi to someone, it's because I genuinely want to say hi, put a smile on their face, want to know how they're doing. And you should be surprised what people start telling. I worked for a while in my late dad's toy store. And, well, not when it comes to the outside, but when it comes to the inside, I look a lot like my dad. My dad was 6'6", by the way. Yeah, he was a tall guy. And as a little girl, that meant that I had to practically run next to him because he didn't slow down when he was in a hurry. And, I didn't know. It wasn't until he actually needed help and support to go do some grocery shopping, and we took him with us, that I found out that my dad is a lot like me, or better said, I'm a lot like my dad. He knew all the people behind the cash registers, and so do I. And so when I was running the store, my mom actually was quite surprised. She said, you always seem to talk to all those people and they tell you all their stories, and how's that possible? And my mom, of course, had never seen me in action, at work. So for me, it's second nature. And for her, it was totally something new, something unexpected. Anyway, I like knowing what's going on with people. I'm curious by nature. And in this case, I got to realize that for a lot of people, what I deem normal isn't so normal at all. I'm a coach, I'm also a therapist and a trainer, but in the time that I've been supporting people, coaching people, I got to find out that when I say, why don't you speak up? Yeah, but shouldn't they just know? Shouldn't it be normal? Shouldn't they know that, it's the normal thing to do? It's called respect. To which I then reply, well, I'm sorry, but it's not. So going back to support, just because the holidays are over, doesn't mean people don't need support anymore. As a matter of fact, I believe that a lot of people still could use some support and some hugs, even after the holidays. So I am certain that a lot of people are very happy they are over, but I also know that a lot of people had to deal with emotions coming to the surface, Pandora's box opening up during those holidays, expecting to see their loved ones sitting in the chair and not being there. And for some reason, when it's end of December, beginning of January, sometimes a little bit later in the year, it's when there are those dark, short days. People, but also other loved ones, pets for instance, seem to, we seem to say goodbye. We need to say goodbye. So beginning of last year, February, my mom passed away. So a little less than a year ago, and 3 weeks later, it was my cat. And, well, I already referenced Joe. And she acknowledged it. She says, yes, it's very painful. And yes, darkness brings a lot of fear. I know she lost her dog too last night. He was in an immense amount of pain. And, well, the good thing is, when it comes to pets, we can make a choice. When it comes to people, not so much. Of course, things are different depending on times. I mean, when my dad passed away, he passed away of old age. And the doctors back then, especially the older one, the younger ones did, but the older one, he didn't want to prolong his life, whereas my dad was full of life. And, you know, right until that last week, he asked about getting support, and he didn't get it. And I remember that last Friday in February, 9 years ago, well, 10 years ago now, I called the emergency GP, so not the ER, but the one prior to it. And I said, this is not going the way it should. I think his kidneys are failing. And I guess he's got a tumor in his bladder again. They did a scan, and apparently they missed it. But, you know, every symptom he has indicates that his kidneys are failing. Well, within the hour, GP was there. It was Friday night. And within, I don't know, the next hour, paramedics were there. I remember one holding my mom, looking at me. He knew it was going to be over. And that weekend, he passed away before it became Monday. He asked for support and he didn't get it. I asked for support, I got it. But then I demanded that all the doctors with their various expertise would talk to one another. And, you know, in those last few moments, and I've been thinking about this a lot, you know, when you say goodbye to loved ones, do you need to be strong? Well, when it came to my dad, I didn't really think about it. I remember sitting next to him on the stretcher and on the gurney. And he comforted me because the tears were actually streaming down my face when I realized he was going. I wouldn't see him anymore after that time. And, you know, I found him at my mom's house. I saw him in the afternoon and I knew he was going to pass away. You know, sometimes you know those things. And I knew them that week because of what my mom said, because how he reacted. There was, Mom, you need to call GP. No, you know you're dead. No, Mom, you really need to. And, well, eventually I did. But when I saw him, you know, with shaking hands, not being able to hold a bowl of fruit anymore. And like I said, my dad was 6'6", and my mom was somewhere in 5-something. Kind of small. She's the Indonesian one. And my dad was holding his hands on her shoulders, walking behind her. It broke my heart. It broke my heart. Anyway, he was close to 88 when he passed away. And he said, I want you to be able to travel. That's what he said to me. He said, if I'm going to be hooked up to all these machines because of kidney failure, that's no way to live a life. So he was at peace making that decision. Now here's the other side of the story. And it's not my story. It's Jo's story. Jo lost her husband during COVID. And she shared with me that she didn't want to cry. of course, COVID was extreme. Some of them weren't able to say goodbye to their husbands, to their loved ones, going into the ambulance, and they weren't allowed to visit, and they only were able to communicate through tablets, iPads. Joe was sort of in luck, if you can call it luck. He was allowed to share 10 minutes in a spacesuit because of COVID. You know, back in that day, COVID wasn't there around so long, so people didn't know much about it. But she was granted, and I'm saying it the way I say it, she was granted 10 minutes with him to say goodbye, and she knew she wasn't going to see him anymore. Her kids couldn't say goodbye. She wasn't allowed to actually be there when he would pass away, and she remained strong. But then, when she took off her spacesuit, to call it that way, her protective gear, she saw this tear streaming down his face. That's how trauma comes into existence. That's how painful memories, I don't know if you can say it's regret, because she couldn't help it. She tried to be there for him. You know, but they both knew. They both knew. And, well, I know that until this day it still haunts her. And here's the thing. Try and get support. It's hard to get professional support out there. But the least we can do is be there. Be there for the person, in this case for Joe, but also for others who need it. I've got clients who need it too, you know, who lost their loved ones because they couldn't say goodbye. And, you know, grief has several stages, and depending on how you're going to lose the loved one, you get the chance to say goodbye because you can see things are going downhill. And when you do, it usually helps. You know, when my cat was going downhill, I walked around with him through the house. He was this little furry thing. I would put him on my shoulder. I don't think that in the beginning I needed, well, at some point I didn't even need to hold him. He could just hold himself, you know, wrapped over my shoulder. But in the end, he couldn't stand up anymore. But he was still purring, you know, the way it is. And yeah, it helped. I made a lot of videos, pictures, and I did it really intentionally. Let's see what Joe says. She says, it's one of the hardest things I had to deal with in my life, same as many other people. Support is the best thing ever. I know it's hard to ask for. I'm the same. I find it hard to ask for support. And that's the thing, you know. And that's why I shared the story of all those various people. The difference with my dad didn't ask for support either until he realized that if he wanted to go out, because he was a lively person, he needed the contact with other people. I'm not sure if he asked or that we offered, you know, it seemed so normal. And maybe my mom asked for my dad. Not sure either. I don't remember it anymore. I just knew that both my sister and I, we do it in turns. And I've got some great memories, some great memories also from the holidays. Him singing alongside, singing songs, St. Nicholas songs. And my mom, in the end, she was the opposite. She refused all kinds of support. I practically had to shove it down her throat, which she blamed me for doing so. She didn't appreciate it at all. But if I hadn't done it, I would have blamed myself. And in the end, we tried to see what was possible. I believe it was a good thing I did. And here's the thing. Some people don't appreciate it. But there are also people who do. And I know that Jo is one of those people who do. Like she says, you have helped me so much the past few months with my confidence. And I believe that one of the first things I said to Jo is, the funny thing is that Jo actually gets out there because she is this immense fan of Jason Begay. He plays Sergeant Hank Voight in Chicago PD. And she wants people to see that he's not necessarily what used to be the dirty cop and the harsh sergeant, who, by the way, if you look really closely, it's so interesting to see what's happening over there. I love what the storytellers doing, what the producers are doing. I mean, kudos to Dick Wolf, to Derek Haas, and all the others out there from the crew and cast who make it possible. And of course to Jason Begay himself for showing how some people make certain decisions which are not always in the favor of others to protect their loved ones. And I, when I coach people, but also when I talk to family and friends, I guess especially those who are not being coached, they are always a little bit annoyed when I explain them both sides. So in order to understand why people are doing things they are, it's not like I want to defend the other side, but I do want to explain why people come to certain actions, to certain solutions, why they do certain things the way they do. And that doesn't mean I'm on their side. I mean, it's not about taking sides. I can be there, I can listen to you, I can understand you, but if you really want to come at peace with what's going on, then it's important that you understand the whole spectrum of what's going on. And that's what I love about CPD. So does Jo. And Jo, she takes all these pictures of Jason Begay, who's actually kind of funny and goofy in real life. if you see the behind the scenes footage, well, it's literally it's really funny. And for those out there who know or don't know, he was the reason for me that I found my one word, which is #inclusion. I was looking for it in the book of Evan Carmichael. Evan Carmichael is the YouTube expert, and he loves to get people out there to make it, to succeed with what they do, get the message out there. Thank you, Evan, for that. And he, so he has these weekly sessions about one word, or about this book actually. And then I was watching this interview with Jason Begay, and he pledged to spread inclusion, and I was like, what's inclusion? So I looked it up, and it was, but hey, that's what I'm doing all this time. Helping people out, giving them a voice, especially the old ones out who are not capable of doing it because of autism or because they can't focus and concentrate for a long time. or whether because they're traumatized. And here's Jo, and Jo uses her pain, and she takes Jason, who has always been an inspiration, and it's cool because she said she'd been around her husband and her had been in a relationship as long as they had known Jason Begay, because the first movie they went to or got to see was with Jason Begay starring in it, and then both of them became fans. And you know, being able to share her passion, it's helping her heal. It gives her something to do. It gives her something to focus on. And by her doing so, we actually got in touch. And I guess that by me reading her text, I pretty soon found out there was more going on. Not sure if that was the case. Jo probably knows it better than I do. But the cool thing is that even though it totally happened unintentionally, I love giving people a voice. That's my passion. That's my mission in life, giving people a voice. And when we went online together to do an interview, her sharing her love for Jason Begay, that's when she got to share the rest of her story. You know, what happened to her husband. How she didn't really have the chance to say goodbye. Well, she did, but not the way that we would like to have seen it. Or she would have liked to have seen it the way, you know, making it possible to do it, you know, having the time to do it, being there, being supportive. And yeah, I love doing interviews. I see it's for me, it's whether I do coaching, whether I ask people what they want, when I was still in my late dad story, or when I'm doing interviews with people. As others say, I'm curious by nature, and I love to find out what makes people tick. And especially when I see that there's more going on, I will ask, because I want to know. And bless Jo, she doesn't mind sharing. I believe it was kind of unexpected for her that she did. But she also shared with me that it did help her. Yeah, here she says, love our interviews, they lift me up. And you know, by giving her a voice and giving her the opportunity to express herself, it actually helps her heal. So I did something else. She knows it. Other people don't know it, but I actually made this meditation for her. And she has tried it a few times. I don't know if you still do. Yeah, I'm glad it was. But I actually made it with her in mind, and all those out there, especially during the dark days here, who keep reliving those last moments. I'm glad you do. And I want them to realize that even though those moments are hard, that it's okay to also think back about the good memories, the wonderful memories, the ones that made you laugh, the ones that made you cry in a positive sense. And I don't know what it is, and maybe I'm wrong with this, but I guess that and I'm saying this in general, that we as human beings are afraid that if we let go of those memories, if we are capable of doing so, let's put it that way first, that we might let go of the good memories too. And I don't believe that's the case. You know, when my mom passed away, the last few months with my mom were hard. She was in a lot of pain. She couldn't walk anymore. I think in the last few weeks she wasn't in pain anymore. You know, her body started to shut down. But she was a bit of Jekyll and Hyde, as other people said it. And because I was around, I was on the receiving end. Sometimes that's the way it goes. And, you know, I had my little tricks. I knew that if I would come at dinner time, I would make sure that she would eat, you know, spoil her. She would, you know, she would be happy. And one of the last things we did, and that's also due to my brother had been cooking. So there was still rice and some beans left, so I got some groceries and then I made a Indonesian dinner. Not everyone knows this, but I'm not able to stand for a long time, especially a year ago. So, yeah, it was nice and it was good. It was the last meal we had and it was a good memory, you know. And yeah, I'm reading what Jo is saying. She says, wish I could be with my mom. You know, around the time that, because of COVID, it was a very stressful situation. We were in a lockdown when my mom passed away. Fortunately for me, there were exceptions, and being someone who guides other people, I was allowed to actually drive during lockdown and see other people. And that applied but to both my clients, but also to my mom. And it was, you know, on one hand it was hard because early morning I would be called by the police. Yeah, we heard your mother screaming. She may have fallen down. Could you please go there, open up the door? And then there I would go, you know, all sleepy. And it was still a 20-minute drive or something. But at least I could go see her, help her out. The hardest thing for me actually was that I had a lot of people, a lot of clients, and I was sort of on suicide watch for them. And it felt like I needed to be there for them just a bit more, because I was afraid that if I didn't, I would lose them due to suicide. And I already have lost a client due to suicide. So, yeah, it was a difficult time, I'll honestly say. But I'm glad I got to spend it with her. And Jo lives in a different country than her mom does. And then her mom is in the hospital, and there we go again. She cannot visit her mom in a hospital. This is not even about traveling. This is not even about the borders. This is about people not being able to support their loved ones. And, you know, I just told you how she lost her husband. And I'm afraid that her biggest fear, I'm pretty sure it is that she'll be losing her mom and she won't be able to see her. Fortunately for her, she's able to do those live talks, you know, using the tablets, the iPad, sharing videos. Staff, a lot of things have changed nowadays. And it's weird because it feels like I could, you know, drive across the border and give a personal message from her. And hopefully, if the time is there, I can support Jo by actually going there with her, and so she can see her mom. I don't know what's possible. But I do know that she wants to support her mom, and that for us out there who see others struggle, please reach out. And I'm not just talking about Joe, I'm also talking about others, but Joe is an amazing example. And be there for them, especially for those who have lost so many people in a very short amount of time. And unfortunately, Joe is an example of one who has to deal with a lot of loss, and not because of old age, but because of circumstances. I don't know if we can say they were preventable all the time. I mean, some were related to violence, others were related to sickness, but none of them were related to old age. And you know, when I got to say goodbye to my mom and my dad, especially to when I got to say goodbye to my mom, you know, she was old, and her body, you know, sometimes it's finalized. And my mom was a vibrant person, you know. She did a lot of studying. She taught me how to play the piano when I was as young as 3 years old. We went to kindergarten together, and apparently I did a piece on the piano together with her, quatre mains, four hands. There's a picture of that actually around. And I'll always be grateful for her teaching me about spiritual stuff, but also about languages, about everything creative. That was my mom. My mom made sure I went to the Academy of Arts. My dad supported me too, fortunately. But yeah, and her not being able to do that anymore, you know, because of eyesight, because of memory, because of lack of energy. Yeah, that was hard to watch. And but you know, she had a good life. And like I said, when it comes to animals, to pets, we can choose when we see they are in pain to say, okay, it's over and done with. When it comes to human beings, not so much. And my mom was a Christian, and devout Christian, and she believed that if she would ask to have her life ended, that it basically would be suicide. So on one hand, she wanted to say goodbye, and on the other hand, it was like, but I can't do it. And I saw that struggle. And, you know, I've dealt with this more often, also with other people, young people out there, who are in pain 24/7. And I'm not going to say we can fix this, you know, anytime soon. But it would be nice if people would have some more understanding for what the other one is going through. So going back to sport, I actually had a question of my own. And fortunately, one of my friends, also very unexpected, is going to help me out. Tomorrow I'm going to get my booster shot for Corona. I'm one of those people who is always at risk. I'm an asthmatic, which is also a side effect of EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So yeah, I use this daily, and this one too. And also because I help out other people, I'm very careful. Going to the physical therapist twice a week, because they help me to align again. They also have to readjust both my wrists, and I can say it's quite painful. With one I do stability exercise, with the other one I like to work out, as in boxing. So they both help me regain my stability and my stamina a little bit. And I have to say it's working. So for the last couple of weeks I couldn't do it because of something which is called sinusitis. It's when there's a lot of pressure in the head. and that prevented me from doing much. Fortunately, since I work for myself, I can choose when to lay down and when to be up and active. So, you know, brain fog is also a symptom of it. And I wanted to say it for some reason. Oh yeah, okay, the booster shot. And here comes the part about the asking. So I asked someone who can help me out the easiest, you know, close by, distance, cars, all that stuff. Would you please take me to the booster post and stay with me over there and drive me back home? Why? Because I've had 2 shots already, and I'm allergic to just about anything. So it's not so much for what's in the booster or what's in the shot. It's the shot itself which I react to. And so the first time they saw it. So I've got my allergy medication, which I take before I go there. But they saw it, you know. I get a little bit white, and my voice changes. Sometimes I can't speak anymore. I need to cough. And you can actually see that I'm, you know, somewhat, I'm not able to focus anymore. But then 3 months later, the second one, there was, she was a lovely young girl, but she didn't know what she was doing, obviously. And I did lose my voice at some point, but because it was coming and going, and this is my own responsibility, please note, I've been sort of trained to not, how do I say it? Because you can't often see what's going on. Well, if you look closely, you can actually see that when I get up, I'm stiff. And then once I'm walking, it's okay again. But that has to do with the hypermobility. It's a little bit strange. But I always have to sort of for my stability and to get that body moving again. And so a lot of the GPs, the family doctors out there actually thought that I was exaggerating. They didn't believe me, and they would say, oh, it's stress, or she needs to learn how to take it easy. But they never got me the support I needed. They never got me a diagnosis. So I've been trained to basically go on. Because if you ask and you don't get help, then what do? You go silent. And you keep silent. That's why I'm helping out others right now. Because I know what it's like. And so the second time, I do believe I've been there for like 30 or 40 minutes. And she said, I think you're good to go. And then when I got in my car, that's when I noticed. And the first thing I had to do was I had to get across a crossing. And I saw all those cars coming from the right. And I had to tap my brake, and I couldn't find the brake. It was like it had been widened. And it was like a meter extra away from me. Fortunately for me, I found it, but I had to go on the highway. And I can tell you, it didn't sit well with me. I didn't forget it. So now with the booster shot, I asked for support from other people. And I already had expected the answer I would get from the first one. He said no. Because he doesn't want to be confronted with any vaccination or whatever. And okay, that's his choice. Fortunately for me, someone else did. And the funny thing is that someone I got to meet through the love for music. And we love to inspire one another when it comes to music, songwriting, text, or just hanging out and talking about things. And so someone said to me, you know, you might want to reach out to him because not all my friends are able to drive, have a car, or live nearby. Actually, most of my friends live far away. Some live across the Atlantic Ocean. Some live across the Northern Sea, as of recently, and some live down below the rivers, which is somewhere between 1.5 to 3 hours driving. So, and some others have kids, so they basically can do it. So, what I wanted to say to you is, don't shut your eyes, don't be ignorant of what's out there. Don't say just because it seems out of reach that it isn't there. It's there. And, you know, sometimes it's just reaching out, saying, I hear you. Let me give you a hug, a virtual hug. Talk to me. That's, you know, it's something that already helps the other, because they know they're not alone. And that's what I want to ask you. That even though this is a smiley Christmas angel, I'm going to change it into another smiley angel. And I hope you want to share it with other people, letting them know you're there for them. And if you don't know how someone is doing, just ask, and then be sincere about it. Don't ask because it's a formality, because it's culture, because it's habit, but be interested in the other one. On that note, I want to thank everyone out there who actually did post the Christmas smiley angel, and who printed it, took a picture of them holding it, and who actually said, we love what you did, and who encouraged me to keep going. On that note, I almost forgot to mention, this Wednesday I'll be going live. I'm going to use a program called StreamYard. So it's probably going to be on YouTube, and the goal is to do so every week. And that's going to be Pacific time, 4 o'clock, Eastern time, 7 o'clock. For those in Europe, it's going to be at 1 o'clock at night. Then for the people in the UK, it's going to be at midnight. And I'm going to talk about giving people voice, about support, about encouragement. And I would love it if you would be there. So that's me asking for your support. And I've been wondering about what a good name would be. If that's give people voice. If I could call you inclusion movement or inclusivity movement. The sharing support supporters. So if you got an idea what a good name would be. I love the word inclusion. That's basically me. But the inclusion movement, I don't know, inclusivity movement. There must be something which sounds better than that. So I'd love it if you would be there. You can join. And the good thing about StreamYard is you don't have to show your face. You can just be heard. I still have to figure out how it all works. I did do one session with someone on StreamYard, so I know it's doable. But here's me being, I guess, vulnerable, because it's, you know, it's a new thing to do. But yeah, I love doing interviews with people, talking about questions, giving my 2 cents on what's needed in order to speak out. And of course, it can be rewatched again on YouTube afterwards. And again, if you have an idea for a name or you want to be on the show, just let me know. Again, you don't have to show your face if you don't want to. Of course, it's always nice to see someone live. But this is about giving people voice. And if you are there and you can share your story, and, you know, whatever else it is you need, and you let me help you, you know, giving a bit of perspective, or maybe just help you out and support you by giving you a voice. You know, that would already be a win-win, not just for you, but also for the others out there listening, knowing they have a voice and it's okay to be heard. So on that note, I'm going to end this live. Big hugs for all of you out there. Remember, show some support and some love to other people. And you can still download the Christmas Smiley Angel. There's a link in my bio if you want to. I believe it's a link, chicarocc.com, share some support at Christmas, Xmas, which I'm going to change really soon. I also did a challenge in the last couple of days to share some support and to get some stuff done, you know, before the previous year, 2021, was over. I'll likely be doing a new challenge. I don't know just when and what, but for now, I'm just going to ask you, give the support to people who need it. Be there. Don't be a stranger. On that note, I hope to see you again here on IG Live. And I also hope to see you on the Wednesdays. So that's 4 p.m. Pacific. It's 7 p.m. Eastern. It's midnight UK time, and it's 1 at night European time. And of course, there are a lot of other time zones, but those are, I guess, the most important ones to know. So I'll see you there. Laters!